you are ready. And it's, there you are. And it's over to you. Thank you very much, Doné.
Thank you, Marina, and welcome to everybody that's joining us for our Neuro Snack conversation today. It's round number 2, and for those of you who were on the call last week, welcome back, and I'm glad to see that you are becoming regulars regarding to the Neuro Snack platform. We are anticipating tremendous growth on this platform. So thank you very much for being a part of this. And it's extremely exciting to share knowledge and to establish a community of practice. So today we are going to talk about this in time that we are finding ourselves in. And we are going to explore what it takes to convert in time, in other words, before it's too late, and whilst we are locked in our homes, in our hearts, in our minds. And I want to read you a quote by Dan Schmitz, and he says, "Understanding how the brain works and planning change around it can bring more engagement, more creativity, and better implementation." So where are we? We find ourselves in uncharted territories, and the change is happening rapidly. The nature of work and how we are existing, both privately and the public sector, needs adaptation. Globally, things are shifting, and you are aware of that. You are seeing your inboxes flooded with this notion. So personally, there is a loud call and a loud call to be more than what was ever thought possible. So we are all aware of the fact that turbulence is a given, but turmoil does not have to be. So how do we bypass turmoil? How do we get ourselves to a point where we can experience the turbulence, be in the shaking and the rumbling, but bypass the turmoil, bypass the depression, the point where we feel we cannot go on anymore? So today we're going to explore six key strategies that we can implement, not only during the COVID-19 lockdown period, but even with our eyes focused on the 5th industrial revolution. What are those key competencies, if we look at it from a neuroscience perspective, that we need to take up and fill our toolbox with so that we can bypass the turmoil and convert to brilliance, convert to thriving, convert to excellence, convert to optimizing? So the first thing that we are going to look at, the first competency that we need to adapt and pick up if we want to bypass turmoil, is the notion of processing fluency. So what is this all about? This is the ease and speed with which we process information. So our ability to absorb information rapidly, quickly, and effectively, and how this influences our opinion of that specific information that we are absorbing. We need to establish views on various topics that's related to our environment. We need to have firm views of those topics, and we need to embody and embed that information exceptionally fast. So rapid absorption of information is the starting point. How do we do that? We need to prepare our minds. And if I talk about minds, I talk about our head brain, I talk about our heart brains and our gut brains. We need to prepare them to absorb information. We need to make sure that our minds are quiet. In other words, they're not distracted. There's no hindrances and blockages. And we are going to talk high level around this, but as I mentioned last week again, watch this space for even more in-depth information around this brain system that I'm referencing. We need to make sure that our minds are healthy. And if you joined us last week, we had a quick brief look at what it entails to have a healthy mind. What are those things that we need to start forming habits around to create healthy minds? Sleeping patterns, eating patterns, thinking patterns, breathing patterns all contributes to a healthy mind. And we need to have a focused mind. The brain discards anything that it doesn't focus on. So we need to be extremely laser sharp in regards to what it is that we want our minds to be focused on. So generally, the faster and the more easily we are able to process information, the more positive we evaluate that information. So if there's that rapid absorption, if we can implement and integrate it, then we have a positive emotion around that information. We are bombarded with information. So we need to be brilliant curators of these informations that is thrown into our spaces on a moment-to-moment basis. We need to have the ability to eat the fish and toss the bones. And how do we do that? We do that by making sure that we can trust what we read, what we expose ourselves to. Are you vigilant about who are you following? Who are you reading? Who are those sources of information that you draw from? But when people can process a stimulus quickly and easily, they do experience a positive emotion. There's a sense of reward. Yes, I absorb this. I'm integrating this information. And the follow-up of that, the consequence of that, is that the emotion that is positive is vital for the head, heart, and gut brain in order to establish congruency. That positive emotion, that toward states that us as coaches are so familiar with, the moment that there's that positive energy around that, we are aligning our brain systems, our head brain, our heart's brain, and our gut brain to say, yes, this is the type of thing that I want to engage in. This is the type of the information that I want to feed on. And as soon as there's congruency between the three brain systems, effectiveness will happen more often. So we need the emotion around the information to be positive. We need to understand whether the information that we are absorbing is true, whether it is from a trusted source. And when that all combines, come together, we align our head, our hearts, and our gut brain to say, yes, this information I want to make part of who I am. And if you can reach that point, then you will reach the point of effectiveness. Effectiveness regarding the information that you took in. Too often, I see people that are well read or they read articles at the speed of lightning, but they cannot integrate those readings or the knowledge that they expose themselves to because they are not aligning their head, heart, and gut brain to optimize and then use it. There's no use for us just reading and exposing ourselves to knowledge, but we cannot apply that knowledge. So this processing fluency will be a key competency if you want to escape turmoil. The next thing that we are going to look at, thank you Marina for flipping the slide for us, is the competency two that will be essential to bypass turmoil, and that is the notion of congruent attitudes. So what is a congruent attitude? It's an attitude that you develop after performing actions consistent with that attitude. So whenever our behavior contradicts our attitude, we feel a state of discomfort, and this is known as cognitive dissonance. When our behaviors does not meet our intentions or our attitudes. So there's a fine line between success and failure. And this is the quote from John Maxwell. He says, that fine line between success and failure is an attitude. And the moment that we have congruent attitudes, attitudes that matches our intentions, we've got some results that flows from that. One of the results is the flow state, a state where we can think expansively, creatively, lateral, innovatively, if our behaviors match our intentions. Another reaction from a congruent attitude is that of wisdom. Because the moment that we match our intentions with our behaviors, we create a space for wisdom to flourish. We enhance communication and we enhance connection. So we resolve this cognitive dissonance, this inconsistency between our attitude and our behavior by adopting a new attitude, an attitude that is consistent with our behavior. But consistency can only be accomplished if we are sure of what our morals and our values are. And in the coaching realm, for those of you who use the values exercise from the coach's toolkit, where your coachees make a list of their top 20 values, this is an extremely valuable point of departure if you want to analyze behaviors versus values. Because if you are clear on what your values are, but yet you are not acting accordingly, then there's a question mark around your values. So truly establishing what you stand for, what those morals and values are, will create the baseline, will create the foundation for behaviors to follow suit. And the moment that the behaviors follow suit, then a strong attitude around that can get developed. After that, our free brains need to trust one another. And this is a concept that I cannot overemphasize enough. Our heart brain, gut brain, and head brain needs to trust each other in order for that positive attitude to grow and flourish. In other words, how competent are each one of three brains in your brain system? Can your head brain trust your heart brain to feel accordingly? Can your gut brain trust your heart brain to raise the emotion that is required for a positive outcome? And if you want more information on this, please contact us and watch this space surrounding how we can align and make sure that our three brains within the brain system can speak to one another and communicate effectively. Once we regain that consistency, the discomfort in our brains fade away and everything returns to a new normal. And note the new, because you cannot now be the same as what you were prior to establishing congruent attitudes. What is this congruent attitudes all about? It's all about matching your intentions, your values with your behaviors. Does your behaviors reflect your true intention? So let's take a look at our third competency when it comes to bypassing turmoil, flourishing in the future. And Marina, thank you. That is all about social similarities. So what is social similarities? This is a similarity that you can share with a group of people. And this is a vital skill if you want to flourish and thrive post-COVID-19 at the dawn of the fifth industrial revolution. You need to be able to connect and connect authentically. Because extensive research shows that we are influenced by people who view things similar to what we view them. I've got a friend and I asked her permission whether I could share what I'm about to share with you now. She left Facebook for 5 years. And we started to talk about Facebook advertising, personal brand. And I told her that I am on Facebook, but I am a very inactive Facebook member. I am a terrible Facebook member. Actually, they should not allow me to be a Facebook member anymore. So terrible am I. But she, after hearing that I am on Facebook, opened up a Facebook account for herself. And she almost, because of our similarities, even though I'm not active on Facebook, she reopened her Facebook account because all of a sudden, in her mind, it was okay to have a Facebook page again. So we are more likely to perform an action if we believe that many people are also doing this. So as a coach, what does this mean to you? This means that if you want to have this rare skill of relatability, you need to open yourself up, and Brené Brown puts it so adequately, open yourself up to be seen as a human, to be vulnerable. And oftentimes vulnerability is marked as a negative trait to have, but actually it's so powerful because it implies that you have got nothing to hide. The smoke screen has blown away and you are open to be seen and open to share who you are. So, emerging research shows that social rejection and physical pain share the same neural system. People do not want to be disregarded from a social circle or a social movement. They want to form part of that. And if you can be the link for people to join in, or for your coachees to grow, if you can show them that human side of who you are, they will form part of the social network. And if the social network is one of growth, if the social network is one of expansion, influence, optimization, then you will be the coach to okay in their minds to make that shift. Being human will always remain the largest differentiator in the age of automation and other technologies. Are you creating social similarities for those people that cross your path? You have the ability to pull them along to greatness. Let's take a look at our fourth competency if we want to bypass turmoil, move into excellence, and that is all about the notion of indistractability. Please note that it's not indestructible, it's indistractable. And this is my summary of what indistractability is. It's the ability to have laser sharp focus on those things that are important to you without allowing contradicting behaviors or thoughts to detract from them. In other words, what are those key essential things that you deem important in your life? And are you focusing enough attention on that for that area to be enhanced? Because if you say that this is an important life, for instance, family, if you say that this is an important aspect on your life, once again, are your behaviors matching what you deem to be important? How do I become indistractable? How do I get that laser sharp focus on the things that I deem to be important? Firstly, you need to answer these two powerful questions. What is your personal superpower? What's that one thing or few things that you are brilliant at, and are you paying enough attention to that? Because if you are paying attention to too many things, if there are too many things on your plate, we know from neuroscience that we cannot multitask. It's an impossible thing to do. And I hope that all of you have bought into that notion, that multitasking should be eradicated from the dictionary. We need to be extremely sure of what those things are that we focus on. And if you are not yet sure what your superpower is, I want to challenge you in the age of challenges during the lockdown period to go and dig for what that superpower is. Go and pull back the layers of the onion to make sure that you know what you fundamentally are supposed to do on earth. And then the second question, what drives you? What motivates you? What's that thing, if I had to call it out in the middle of the night, that would get you excited? And as a coach, it's our responsibility to ask these similar questions to our coachees so that they can become laser sharp in their focus. We need to deal with distractions within. And I know this is easier said than done, and this middle sentence of my bullet points can definitely get a lot more attention than what we are going to give it today. But the essence of what I'm trying to communicate here is, what are those things that are distracting you internally from focusing on the things that's important? What are the triggers? What are the things that happened in your past? What are the things that is lingering in your thoughts, in your heart, in your gut, that you need to eradicate and take care of? Focused. The fourth point, make time for traction. And what this fundamentally says is, make time for the things that's important in your life. And it goes without saying that if you want to focus on the things that's important, you need to set aside time for those things. And what I have seen in my own life, if I do not set aside deliberate time for those things, a day can pass, 2 days can pass, a month can pass, and I have not yet spent the adequate time on that specific thing that in my hearts of hearts I deem important. So diarize it. Open up blocks in your diaries for that. Date night, playtime with the kids, reading, meditating, praying. It's important to allocate time in your diary if you think that this is an important aspect of your life. And then hack back on that external triggers. What do I mean if I say that? What are the things externally that's hindering you from focusing? Is it television? Is it our cell phones? And we spoke about that last week. Is it loud music? Is it food? What are those external extractions that you need to hack back on so that you can become indistractable? Indistractability will be a massive, massive differentiator going into the fifth industrial revolution. The ability to focus and push aside any distractions. So our fifth competency I love, and this might be my favorite one, and this is all about, thank you Marina, generosity. So what is generosity? Generosity is a quality that is a lot like unselfishness. Someone showing generosity is happy to give time, money, food, kindness, etc. to others. When you show generosity, you might give away things or money or put others before yourself. Something just popped up on my screen. Sorry. So when individuals engage in generous and altruistic behavior, they actually activate circuits in their brains that are key to fostering well-being. Fundamentally, we crave tribal living. We want to engage. We want to be part of a group, a tribe. We want to give. We want to have meaning, and meaning comes from contributing. We crave that tribal living because our brain is wired for full circle living. What do I mean if I say full circle learning? We want to be a part of every system, every systematic touch point in our lives. And from a consulting perspective, the 4 W's do summarize it quite nicely. If you aren't familiar with it, let me highlight what the 4 W's stand for when we look at full circle impact. The first thing is the world that we live in. And the COVID-19 currently is a brilliant example of how we want to contribute from a world perspective. All of us, we have a role to play in making sure that we adhere to social distancing and the lockdown regulations. So we innately have this need, this desire to contribute to the world at large. And now that we are contributing to this lockdown regulations, we are actually being a part of this greater picture, this larger picture that we call the world picture. The second one is our workplace. The place where we are doing things. And workplace can either be in your house where you work, where you operate, where you engage with people, or your physical work where you earn your money from, that workspace. We have the desire to contribute in that space. Thirdly, we innately have a desire to contribute to our work. But it's important that we link indistractability, our superpower, to this work. Because if you are not working within the realms of your superpower, you won't have the need to contribute there. That's why it's important to first pull back the layers of the onion, discover what you are born to do, and then naturally you'll have the tendency and the need to contribute in that area. And then the 4th W stands for the person, the worker, the one that does the work. We are born with a desire to impart into other people's lives that what we can give. And that is what generosity is all about. The world, the workplace, the work that we are doing, and the worker, the person that we are engaging with. The last bullet point I love and I hold dear to my heart. Purpose does not lay in achievement, but in optimizing. Influence and achievement should not be the goal. Hitler was also an influencer. And I'm sure that you can mention people in your life that are influencers, but they do not necessarily optimize. So influencing is almost an old statement. This old notion of leaders should be able to influence, sure. But true leaders not only influence, but they optimize, they expand, they allow people to grow. And that is what generosity is all about. It is not having the influence, my stamp on other people's life. That's not what generosity is about. Generosity is about, yes, having the stamp, but the stamp allows for growth, expansion, and optimization. How generous are you with optimizing the people around you? This is a vital competency if we want to bypass turbulence or turmoil. The last competency that we are going to look at is the notion of personal branding and value proposition. So what is this? The ability to win the hearts and the minds of people and communicating what sets you apart from others, all built on the authentic foundation of who you truly are. So if we want to be the legacy leavers, the optimizers, the influencers that leads to growth, we need to make sure that our personal branding is spot on and that we have a clear picture of what our value proposition is. And from a neuroscience perspective and putting the neuroscience lens on, it's very important that we as the optimizers occupy some part of your clients or your target audience or your prospect clients' thinking. We need to enter into their brains. You need to be top of mind for them if you want to bypass turmoil. Are you their go-to person? Are you the trusted advisor? And you do that by connecting emotion to your brand. Once again, that relatability when we spoke to the social element competence when it comes to bypassing turmoil. Can you relay emotions? Can you evoke, light a fire in your clients' hearts and minds? If you think about how we can optimize your personal branding, it's important to stimulate the senses of your clients or your prospect clients. And neuroscience and research have proven that only 10% of that stimuli happens through the eyes. So if you put a marketing flyer on your LinkedIn profile, you have a 10% hit rate. The rest of the 90% is up to other senses to take in, to embody. Not only hearing, not only as voice, not only touching, but sensing, feeling a brand, experiencing a brand. That is what's required if you want your brand to grow. I mentioned earlier that the brain disregards what it is not focused on. So you need to create a focal point for your clients if you want to grow your brand, add that value. They need to focus on you and make sure that the other distractions, the things that's not relevant, is eradicated. How do we do that? There are two vitally important ways in how we can establish a strong personal brand and value proposition. And that is through warmth and competence. You need to communicate these two things, but they should be authentic. Warmth, in other words, what are your intentions? What do you want to accomplish? Can people trust you? And if they experience that you've got an authentic, true intention and they can trust you, then oxytocin is released. And we know from neuroscience that this hormone is vital for engagement, for people to get into a state towards you, trusting you. And the second vital thing is, how competent are you? What's your capability? Are you upskilling yourself regularly? Are you absolutely relentless in growing your skills? Because you need to bring the value. Otherwise, they'll just find another supplier. There are 1 trillion coaches out there. And if you are not going to remain on top of your skills and what you can offer, they'll move to the next one. Are you assertive? Do you know what you stand for? I want to use an example from a lady, Madeleine Albright. I don't know whether you have heard of her. She was the former State of Secretary from America, and her landing page on LinkedIn sounds like this. And listen out for the warmth and the competence. She says that she is a grateful American. She's a Czech immigrant, mother and grandmother, former Secretary of State, passionate Democrat, author, professor, businesswoman, pin collector, and occasional drummer. Can you hear that there's loads of warmth? Grateful American, grandmother, mother, passionate Democrat. And then the relatedness. She's a pin collector, an occasional drummer. Can you imagine Marilyn Albright behind a set of drums? What is she doing? She's creating similarities. She is conveying and communicating warmth. And weaved in between the warmth, she highlights her competence. She's an author. She's a former Secretary of State. She's a professor and a businesswoman. These two things, if you want to optimize your personal branding, will be vital going forward. Post-COVID-19, but also post the fourth industrial revolution. So let's summarize. Marina, our last slide, please. We took a look at these 6 crucial elements that we need to take up, put in our toolbox, make part of who we are if we want to convert, if you want to truly be the differentiator. Process fluency. How quickly can I absorb information, and am I a good curator? Social similarities. Are there things that I can amplify so that people can relate to me more easier? What is my attitude like? Remember, John Maxwell says there's a fine line between success and failure, and that fine line is attitude. Am I aligning my entire brain system? Can I remain indistractable and keep the laser sharp focus? How generous am I with allowing other people to perform optimally? And lastly, are you weaving in warmth and competency so that people are drawn to you, so that your personal brand can be firm, established, and timeless? I hope these 6 competency serves you, that it adds value, and that you will take them and convert what you are currently doing in the remainder time of this lockdown period. Stay safe. We will remain on the line if there's any questions after this, but enjoy the time in and optimize on these competencies. Thank you. Let's hear from you. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Doné. Just remember, if you want to ask a question, just come off mute. And I saw that Chris has had a question about information overload. Chris, was that answered for you?
I think so. I think it's more about becoming focused on what it is about you and what is your brand, and concentrate on that. I mean, I don't know what the words were, but, push back the other stuff and concentrate. Would that be right, Doné?
Yes.
Absolutely, Chris. So that's good at hack back. So make sure that the things that's distracting you, that excess information, that you can deliberately set it aside and determine whether it's useful or not.
Great. Thank you.
Yes.
Right. And before I would like to ask a question, I just want to ask everybody, if you would like to receive a recording, the slides, the everything from this process, please just type into the chat box your email address, because then we can send it to you if we do not have your information, because we do not know all of the people that came in. Anybody else that would like to ask a question? Because I have this question that is now sitting here in me. I actually have a lot of questions.
I hope I can answer them all.
Yes. Michelle, I see that you would like to ask a question.
Thank you, Doné. This was very, very insightful, and I think it's definitely a few points that we can have a look at, especially in this lockdown period. I would just like to, I looked at sorry, I'm just getting my notes here that I made, the personal branding. Yes. And I thought that was very relevant in today's world. I'm very active on LinkedIn and Facebook. And I would, that made so much sense with that Madeline, you know, her personal branding that she gave, what you told us about. So I think with keeping that in mind, it's especially now people are looking at, you know, they want to connect with people that's real. They're not fake out there. It's a real person on the other side of the line. So that was very, very relevant, and thank you very much for that.
With a pleasure, Michelle. There's a lovely 1 hour workshop on Udemy called the Neuroscience of Personal Branding, and it's on special. So for someone like you that's really interested in that, go and buy it. It's on special, I think, for the next few days.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Right, and anybody else? Right, I see that somebody has asked, are we planning for to have a post on or something on flow? I think it's Charmaine Carstens. Charmaine, don't you want to come and present on flow? Please connect with us. We would really
I wish I could.
We would really like, but there's people out there, please use this opportunity, connect with Tamarin so that we fill the space and we can learn from one another. Then I do have a question, Doné.
Yes,
a lot of questions. How do I find my superpower?
So Marina, that's a brilliant question. And I think that there are many ways. I think the not so popular question is that it does take time. I don't think you find your superpower overnight. I think sometimes it's trial and error, but I also think you need some deliberate time to think, ponder on it, and discover what your superpower is. And one of the ways that I found out an area of my superpower is through coaching, Marina. So that was one of my goals. How do I find my superpower? I was lost. And a coaching series did help me to uncover that. But I think that there are a few tips that I can share. I think the first thing is to do a survey with the people that's closest to you. What do they see you as doing? What's the impact that you are making? How do they find benefit from you? And I think that can serve almost like a round one. Round two will be what fuels you, what energizes you, what comes without too much strain. Because I think your superpower does not have to come with too much strain. Obviously with hard work, but not with strain, you know, not with that intense effort that drains you. So your superpower will definitely enhance your motivation. Your superpower will come more naturally than something opposed to your superpower. And then the third tip that I can share is the rapid absorption of information. Go dig, go find out, expose yourself to things. Attend short webinars or courses on Udemy. Go expose yourself. There's a wide world out there, and the normal, let's call it professions or things that our parents and our parents' parents engaged in is not necessarily relevant. There are a vast amount of new superpowers up for the grabs. And I think it's our responsibility to put ourselves out there to go and dig and find.
Wow, that's really great. Thank you very much. And may I ask another question?
Yes, if I can answer.
You spoke about this value proposition. Can you get somebody else to write your value proposition?
It's so weird that you are asking that, Marina, because we did an exercise in our household with my husband's company around that. And he asked me, what do I think their strongest value proposition is? And I wrote it for them. And they had loads of ahas, because from a consumer's point of view, what the value that you bring might differ from what you think the value is. And then you can do checks and balances versus my intention and the perceived value. So I would say yes, Marina. What do you think?
Well, I would like somebody to write my value proposition, and I would like the people that know me on this call just to tell me, what is my superpower, because I find it very difficult to decide this is what energizes me the most. But yes, thank you very much for the tips. I really appreciate that. Carmen, I see you are on the call, and it's really great to see your name here. Is there anything that you would like to share before we share the last page of our, what do you call it, presentation for today?
Hi, Marina.
Hello.
I was just sharing that I think one of your superpowers is the ability to bring people together, just like you've been doing on these Neuro Snacks. So thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you very much that you're putting my superpower down there for me. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, Carmen. And are you going to present something to us some other time?
I'm still considering what that would be, but yeah, hopefully in the near future.
Yes, we're waiting for you, and we are really waiting on everybody. If we can have this each and every week, can you imagine we are going to be continuously growing together? Thank you very much. Right, and with that, I'm going to the next slide. And it's just something for this Neuro Snack time. Easy pancakes. We thought we will give you a little recipe. And we have, I've received this from Doné, and that guy that she supported to help writing their value proposition is this KVV attorneys, conveyancers, and notaries. So Doné, please just say thank you to them for allowing me, without their permission, to share their easy pancake recipe. There you are. You can enjoy making some pancakes today. And then with that, please today just say thank you to Dion. Hey.
Oh, whoa.
Great. And then I would like to invite you to our next brain snack. It is on Friday, the 17th of April, and it is the same time, 12:30. There's our website is up there. And please, if you would like to present your topic to us, don't hesitate. Connect with Tamron, and we will see whether we have a slot where you will fit in or will feel comfortable with. Keep well, and thanks again. We really, really appreciate the fact that you have taken the time to help us to develop. Keep well, and bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm waving at you. I'm waving.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Wow.
I see we still have some participants. Any questions that you would like to ask? Debbie, Eddie, Anna? Paula, any questions that you would like to ask?
My page just kind of froze.
Well, at least it gave us time to speak with you. How are you keeping?
I'm very well, Marina. How are you?
I am doing very well. Thank you very much for asking.
Oh, good. Are you still busy? How are things going over there?
Yes, we are busy. Tamron and myself, and Doné, we are doing and moving, definitely. Are you in the 24 lockdown over there as well?
Yeah, but we have it a little bit easier than you guys because we're allowed to leave the house for a walk or so.
Well, I'm sitting on the stationary bike now. So, and I have that one of those things that you can walk like this, but that's a lot of PT. So I rather sit on the stationary bike. So, yes, great to see you.
Yeah,
Right.
you too. I put a message there, but I'll send Tamron a message as well. I definitely want to present. I've got an interesting kind of take on stress, which could fit in quite well.
That would be wonderful. And let's, as you can see, it is as wide as we want to make it. It doesn't have to be something on coaching, but listen, futuristic, whatever. And yes, having a process on stress is.
I can do stuff on psychometric assessments and lots of different things if you wanted. So definitely.
Yeah, leave the psychometric assessments out. I don't know whether I'm normal anymore. Just joking. But thank you, Paula. Just saying to Tamron, she is sorting us out. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marina. I'll see you next week.
Speak with you. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Debbie, Eddie, anything that you would like to ask, say?
Ek wil graag sê ek het nie alles gehoor en gesien en deelgeneem nie, maar dit was baie goed, dankie.
Dankie, Ed.
Dankie, Eddie.
Maar jy kan nou maar.
Dankie, Eddie.
Hope you got your gloves ready, Eddie. I heard you're gonna start dying soon.
Start doing what?
Dyeing my hair.
Box dyeing.
I thought you said I'm going to dive.
No!
I've got
Eddie,
the pool
never.
here, but I don't know if that is sufficient.
Well, you will dive into the swimming pool, yes.
Don't forget to put, I don't know what you put, like not Vaseline, like cream around Marina's hairline so you don't get it everywhere.
Thank you for the tips. Great, thank you, Tammy. Great.
No
we will set aside 5 hours for this job.
Keep us posted, Marina.
We will, thank you. Right. And then, Debbie, anything from your side? Okay. Doné, you can please then stop the recording for us.